People are sitting back and just looking at their KPIs, and you know, the question goes, well, why does the needle move this way? Tumbleweed, right?
Data orchestration and like marketing automation. What's the real difference? Could you elaborate?
That's a really interesting debate, and it's one that I find a fascinating one, because I think that the term marketing automation, which is what we're actually talking about here, sometimes gets very confused. We tend to think of marketing automation as my email system. Right, so we start thinking about products where you can create based on behaviors and all these things that they can gather. You know, you can have landing pages, you can have forms, you can have capture points, and then you can have automated email programs based on where you are in the journey. You get different messaging, but it's only one part of the comms channel. Your marketing operation, or what we would consider the marketing automation platform, doesn't speak to your top of funnel stack. It might communicate in a limited way to your CRM. Your CRM might not talk back to your marketing automation if it's not been done right? If there is pure integration, or you may not have, or you may need more data points between the two to start building up those use cases. So the challenge is, I think, very often marketing automation is a misunderstood term and is used for only one part of the journey or one part of the comms channels.
So if you compare data orchestration with journey orchestration, how do they two expressions compare?
It's a great point. I think they're symbiotic. You can't build journeys and experiences if you're not building your data orchestration with it. Because to build a journey and an experience, you're saying, okay, I know that the customer is going to hit me across multiple touch points, multiple devices. Maybe lots of different things they're doing across there, which could give us an indication of what they need, where they are, and how we best serve them, or what the best product might be for what they might be looking for.
Yeah, so would it be right to say that, like, the data orchestration is maybe done by this tech marketing ops person, and then you have the journey orchestration that is done by not so tech marketing operations, and kind of the data orchestration supports everything you set up in the journey orchestration part of it?
Absolutely. Yeah. So the data orchestration is an enabler to being able to doing this journey stuff, right? If you don't have that, then you can't really do the journey stuff right. So it's an enabling function. And very often, and there are some products out there in the stack which are real enablers to get you to do this, where it's particularly or relatively simple to be able to get the data stuff set up, and I use that quite simple in a with very wide connotations there, but then also has on top of it a UI which allows your journey designers, if you like, to go in there and use the data. So you have, let's prepare the data, let's get it connected, let's get it flowing, right? Then let's get the use cases and build the journeys on top of that. And the difference is when you have this set up, when you're coming to building your journeys, you're not basing your journeys again on siloed single stack options, but you're actually saying what happens when they hit here, 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 and here. And then each person in that journey design team, right? So you can have your email folk, you've got your social media folk, you've got your top of funnel folk, you've got your CRM folk. They're all seeing this data that's coming through, and they're like, well, okay, when this signal happens, so when the customer adds the basket, what do we do? Email goes off and does and plans a whole bunch of different journeys, and CRM does their thing, but that one signal is getting through across your entire stack. So you're able to create a more consistent journey experience for each of those signals. And yes, there is a differentiation between doing the journey and the content and what that looks like from a design perspective, and then the data that's enabling that.
When you have data in silos, many struggles with kind of having the full picture. I'm guessing that having the data fundamentals in order, like we talked about, and having a CDP, that would probably give us a lot more insights.
Yeah, so I think once you're starting to get these event streams into, if you like, all these signals into one place, and then you can feed those up into some kind of data warehouse or data lake somewhere. This is when then your insights and analysis teams. Now you generally have, your analysts in specific areas of the business. I think now there's a lot more enterprise, a lot more organizations that are beginning to build up proper insights departments with data scientists and that sort of thing. All this data can really churn out some really interesting stuff, some really interesting behaviors and segments. So there's two things, I think. One of that probably I'll talk about today. And the first is, this idea that data belongs somewhere and somebody serves me the data when I have a question. So what happens is I'll come and I go, well, can I have a report on this stuff? And I send it off to the data person. And then whenever that happens, the data comes back to me and I can maybe have a look at an Excel sheet. And that kind of thing drives me nuts because the request for the report is quite specific. So the person bringing you the data is going to give you what you essentially asked for. But if you're the domain expert, you not only know, what the data means. And if you know what the data means, because you know the system behind it, you know the activity, you know what the numbers are meaning, as a domain expert, if you can serve the data, if you can dive in, you're going to get more insight than that single report or waiting for someone to bring you the data. So I'm a really big fan. When we talk about de-siloing, what that means to me is not just getting data from lots of different places into one place. It means getting loads of different domain experts within the business to be able to access that and start doing their own insight and self-serve. And once you hit that point, that's when you start getting lots of oohs and ahs all over the place. That's when people,
Exactly, because personally I work a lot with like Google Analytics and pulling data out in reports, but last couple of years I've kind of shifted over to setting up dashboards in Data Studio, and I've seen that making all the different data more accessible for my colleagues. It actually, I set up the dashboard, and here you go. Here you have all the figures and all the metrics and stuff that we agreed upon. And I kind of move on to other things, and in some meeting someday, people are pulling up insights and did you know that blah blah blah, and and I'm like, wow, where did that person get? I made that dashboard. But
it's a great enabler. It's a great feeling. Right? Create something, and it's quite an interesting thing within data. When you create something within data dashboard and you give that to the domain experts and they come back at you with this insight, it's such a cool feeling. And it's one of those things that then drives the business. Because you've got more insight, you can then become, you get more activity. It moves away from this idea of reporting, right? People are sitting back and just looking at their KPIs, and the goes, well, why does the needle move this way? Tumbleweed, right? Or loads of noise. And what this does is it turns it around. It moves away from reporting, which is an important aspect of it, because you have to keep an eye on your goals for your strategy, KPIs. But if you have access to the data as a domain expert, you're going to become so much better. You're going to have so much more fun at your job, because you're going to be able to make all these lovely insights and action on them if you've got the capability to then work your stack on those actions, on those insights.